We hope nobody is facing any audio or video related issue. If it is there, kindly try removing your earphones. Or if it is not solved, please join in again.
Okay, great. We are good to go, Dr. Swati. Go ahead.
Thank you. So welcome all the participants, learners, audience, professionals, and students to the continuing pharma education program by Pharma State Academy. Today we have with us a very esteemed guest, Dr. Manoj Kumar. We all keep, learning, unlearning. So this is one session which will establish that concept today. Before we move ahead, let us have our video. Thank you so much, Dr. Satish. A warm welcome to all the participants today for joining us on this session. We all have been talking a lot about how digital is progressing in pharma, how we are going to mix it, what digital is all about. So today we have brought you a very, very important speaker for this topic, Dr. Manoj Kumar. Welcome, Dr. Manoj. And let me introduce in short what our speaker has done. Almost many of you must be knowing. Dr. Manoj is Senior Vice President and Strategic Business Unit Head with Intas Pharmaceuticals, and he's responsible for super specialty healthcare business, which includes oncology, transplant, dialysis, critical care, plasma, and hospital business. With more than 25 years of experience in pharmaceutical and healthcare industry, he has worked in global institutions of repute, including Intas, Novartis, AstraZeneca, and Servier. Under his leadership, Intas has launched many innovative molecules, such as 𝐃𝐚𝐿IP technology, biosimilars, and he has played a crucial role in the emergence of Intas as a leading global company in the super specialty space. A doctorate in philosophy management from MIT University, is also an alumni of IIM Bangalore, MIT University, National Law School, Bangalore, and Sainik School. A rare mix of industry and academia. He has been called as an honorary guest lecturer in institutes of repute such as IIM Lucknow, MIT University, and Goa Institute of Management. He has represented pharma industry also at various important webinars, including held by the Economic Times, an avid marathoner and a motivational speaker also. So let us hear about this topic from Dr. Manoj Kumar from Intas. Over to you, Dr. Manoj.
Thank you, Dr. Swati, Dr. Satish, and the wonderful team of Pharma State Academy, 𝐂𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐿, and all my seniors, those who have made me whatever little I am today. And I see a good number of students from various institutes as well. So warm welcome to each one of you. And thank you for spending your time on this Sunday to listen to something which has been not just my work, but a work of a lot of other people as well. What I would try doing over a period of close to 50 to 60 minutes before we break out for Q&A session is, give you a glimpse of real original research work, and which will give you a couple of insights into the real domain. Allow me some time to load my slide. Is my slide visible, Dr. Swati?
Not yet, Dr. Manoj. Not yet.
Just a second.
Yes, it is.
Is it
there.
on?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So today we have, I'm visible and audible as well, right?
Yes.
Excellent. So let's get started. First of all, these are very two important words in our life as professionals, as students: learn and unlearn. And the day we get a hang of these two words, I think there is only going to be a progression. Many a times, in the garb of continuing and being in the comfort quotient, we really do not wish to unlearn quite a lot of things. And these are two important words for those of us who wish to make a career in pharmaceutical industry: digital and conventional. So my talk today would typically revolve around these four words: learn, unlearn, digital, and conventional. Friends, this is my favorite picture, and I get reminded of some real life situations. And those of us who have small children at home would know that, how worshipped are Captain America, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, Black Panther, Iron Man, and many more. Never has been a time when these superheroes have wished and admired healthcare professionals. Last 20 months has been an emergence of healthcare professionals. Probably for the first time, people have realized that how important it is to survive, to have a good life. And those of us who are listening today are those chosen few who have knowingly or unknowingly carved their world, career, life into healthcare world. So the message from this slide is we are at the right place at the right time. There are two industries which is really emerging. One, healthcare, pharma, hospitals, holistic healing. And the second area which is really emerging is IT and IT related communications. So today's topic can't be much more apt than this. I think those of us who are a little older would clearly identify with this picture. When we started our career, we had very heavy bag. We used to travel using public transport, wait in front of a doctor's cabin, and would get those just a few moments of interaction. From there, the world moved from big bag to small bag, from visual aid to iPads and tablets. The waiting area became planned and rostering started happening. And in this busy world, we also started finding some roots of our means of communication. So I think what is important is it is not just during these times we are seeing a change. Even a pharmaceutical industry over a period of time have undergone a lot of change. The large, bulky visual aids became small leave behind literatures. Small leave behind literatures became PDF versions. But is this sufficient is something that we really need to reflect and ponder. So I was lucky enough to get a seat to do my PhD. And a few years back, I was trying to understand what is that which would really help the industry, because I was already employed and it was not money which was kind of pushing me to do my research. So I charted a path which was probably relevant. And that's where my research topic came in: impact and relevance of digital marketing in Indian pharmaceutical industry, with specific reference to super specialists. What I'm going to present to you today is small snippets of 4.5 years of research work and its findings, probably more suited to the corporate and students. And I have purposely taken out the hardcore research elements from this. During my research journey, I could interact, communicate with close to 2,000 plus doctors spread across India. A couple of them were international speakers as well. Since the research work was into pharmaceutical industry, it was also very, very important to get industry perspective. So I engaged with sales professionals, and they were 303 in number. In addition to this, it was equally important to get people sitting in typically called HO, head office, marketing and brand managers. And it was equally important to get industry leaders' insights, because they are the one who are driving the industry and leading the way. So I could also interact, communicate, and get data points from close to 121 sales leaders and marketing professionals and business leaders. So what I'm going to present to you is close to a data point of close to 3,000 interactions spread over 4 years, compiled, researched, and then I'm going to give you those in snippets of few slides. And what were my findings? Finding number one: there has been a lot of talk about, we should go digital. But when you really do the desk research and find out, and you look into the digital behavior of doctors community, I was surprised. Everybody is talking about digital. But what was very interesting is that only 18% of them had something as simple as their own website. That means almost 80% of them did not had a professional, personalized footprint. Which means what? That obviously they are digitally present. But it was the hospitals which were linking these doctors digitally. And even if you look into the websites of the doctors, most of the time it was an appointment roster. That means you can book an appointment. It was not a hardcore interactive tool which these guys were kind of having. So this means what? If I'm a pharmaceutical professional and I need to digitally engage and provide my value-added service, because every doctor these days is expecting a value-added service, this is one area which we can provide value. That means I can make website, I can enable my doctors to be digitally present. What was even more interesting, even those who had their own website, that they were not updated. That means they were made at one point of time, and after that they forgot. Whereas if you look into the websites of pharmaceutical industry or hospitals, of course they were appointment rosters, but they were updated regularly. There's a saying in digital world that if you do not update at regular frequency, you die. And that you would have seen even in your own posts. If your posts are not liked, if people do not communicate on those value offerings, they do not get appreciated. So this was the first research finding. When you move into the second research, Was there a need? Was there something which doctors were wanting? So you would be surprised to know that a very large set of doctors, 75% approximately, see a role of digital consultancy. Now, this is just amazing. Yesterday, I was lucky enough to be in another webinar. I was speaking to a 𝐂𝐝𝐻OD, All India Institute of Medical Science. And what was very interesting from his mouth was every week he gives digital consultancy to close to 125 doctors. And this was also my finding of my research work. You remember March 25th, 2020. It's a golden period in healthcare industry, almost 16, 17 months back. During pandemic time, government went ahead and approved telemedicine. The conventional pharma is about patient being present in the hospital or in a doctor's clinic, and doctors is also physically present, and there is a pharma physical interaction. That's how conventional it is. But there is a different world which you are experiencing today. Dr. Swati just updated us that we have close to 1,070 registration plus, more than 200 students, rest all into corporate world. This would not have been possible if this world was not digital. And so is a very different world which is already happening. When a pharma industry goes, he sees very few patients maybe, and he feels that the doctor patient load has come down. Typical pharma patient load kam ho gaya. But in reality, he might be seeing more patients. The reason is he is present in front of his laptop. There is a WhatsApp which is there in his mobile. That WhatsApp provides him those scan images. He sees those scan images. He's talking to his patient. There is another registered medical practitioner who is sitting in that remote town, giving him all the information such as pulse, physical examination. He's seeing the report on the WhatsApp. He's able to physically see the patient. And on his WhatsApp, he communicates the message and his prescription. And that registered medical practitioner sitting in that city along with the patient is counseling. Now, what is changing for the pharma? What is changing for the pharma is that patient, if he would have come physically, he would have taken the medicine in that hospital or in that pharmacy. But he needs the medicine there. And probably there would not be a stockist. There would not be a chemist. So the industry which will focus on availability are the one which is going to do much, much better. So if I'm a sales professional, if I'm a marketing professional, I probably would focus my effort, energy in understanding telemedicine and understanding what changes because of this telemedicine. If we do not understand the market creation because of telemedicine, there is a big chunk which we are going to miss. The third part of the research finding was that almost 90% of the doctors see a role of real-world data generation and also to discuss the critical case. Please understand this slightly better. Most of us, especially Indian pharmaceutical industry, are excellent in expanding the reach and penetration, but probably we are not that, I would not say great, but we do not have that bandwidth and strength and probably the money power to come up with an innovative research molecule. And let's say the drug is patented for almost 15, 20 years. Obviously, every good company would invest their effort, energy into finding the indication which is widely used. Maybe one indication, second indication. And by the time the patent is over, there are many companies with the same generic. So their effort quotient on uses expansion of those molecules changes. But is there no use? Probably there are much wider use of the same molecule. But that would not come from those innovative companies because now they have lost patent. So, especially in India, especially in companies which is developing countries, there is a lot of role to understand where all the same molecule could be used. And that is what was also perceived by the doctors community. So organization or market here, which focuses on real world data generation, converting it into a publication and presenting the same concepts into major conference are the one who are going to have a better use of their molecule. And if you are the number one or number two into that particular space, you would get better share. Similarly, India is a vast country and there are a lot of niche areas where drugs are used or critical cases are used. But when you look into the publication of the same, you would not see so much of publication. Reason being is that there is so many patients which waiting for the doctor, that he is not in a position to document. So the marketeer, the organization which focuses on documenting these niche indications, critical care indications, are the one who would take those insights. When you go to the next finding, you would find that almost 55% of the doctors community are changing their knowledge behavior, their learning behavior. There are portals such as UpToDate, Lancet, New England Journal of Medicine, and many more concerning those therapy areas. And these are independent, they are unbiased, they are driven by science, they give complete balanced information, they are backed up by level of evidence. So since such informations are available 15 to 20 years before, one of the major value-added services which could have been provided by pharma was science and science dissipation. We used to feel proud that we have given some content, some value addition to the doctors. But any doctor having 10 fingers these days get those value additions on his mobile. So is he expecting from a pharmaceutical company this information? Or he's expecting something else? So if the same information about the same molecule or same therapy comes from an unbiased knowledge portal, it probably would get appreciated more. So is this the time for 10 pharmaceutical company talking about meropenem individually, or those 10 pharmaceutical company who are brand leaders who go into knowledge expansion and uses meropenem or emerging data on meropenem, because it is God knows how many decades old product, in UpToDate? Is it about that red ocean strategy, or it is about uses expansion of the molecule? My research says that since the doctor is already moving towards an unbiased portal, probably this could be a good time for 10 pharmaceutical company brand leaders to think that should I invest my energy into developing a leave behind literature of those Me Too molecules, or should I club this much of money and push it for a molecule, presence into unbiased portal. My suggestion would be do the second. Your market would expand, users of the molecule will expand, you would get your share if you're a better marketer. The fifth finding was again very interesting. We talk about, should I need to train doctors to be on social media platform or how to connect digitally? They're already there. 60% of the super specialist doctors, or probably more, are regular visitors. But the reason why they're there on the digital media at this point of time is more for emotional reasons. They want to connect to family, friends. They wish to understand what is happening in whose life, who is doing what, who is traveling where, who is getting recognized, who is not getting recognized. Typical human needs. But if you look into another need, which came across in my research finding, was a need to network and connect to fellow professionals. So that was the second most important need for a doctor's community. We sometimes wonder that, do they wish to use social media platform for educational reasons? I already mentioned to you for that, for educational reason, it was New England Journal of Medicine, Up to Date, Lancet, Journal of Clinical Oncology, Blood, and such, PubMed. Education and entertainment for social media connectivity or digital media connectivity was not a very, very high need. So the need to connect to family, friends, and network was coming across as a strong research finding. A very, very important question again. There are various gods which is present, and I feel this is again another god which we have. Google God. And there are a lot of sayings which is revolving around Google. If you wish to die, be on the second page of Google. Google is God. Almost all of us Google. Our day begins with Google, ends with Google. Same is the situation with patients. Before they reach out to a doctor, before they buy a medicine, before they look into a surgical procedure, the way we Google, same is the way patients Google or patients caregiver Google. Now, these findings gets converted into questions, and it reaches a doctor's cabin when the patient or the patient's caregiver reaches there. What do I wish to say by this finding? I think the point which I wish to say by this finding is, do the doctors answer these Google questions? The finding was almost 76% of them are answering it. They answer it willingly. They answer it with irritation. And some of them also charge extra to answer these Google questions. But the fact of the matter is, they do answer it. What do I mean by this? What I mean by this is, if you are a pharmaceutical company, if you are a pharmaceutical marketer, the impression about your company, about your molecule is happening even before the patient or caregiver is reaching a doctor for treatment. So the fact about trust making or non-trust making, or what to take or what not to take, is already in his mind before he's actually taking an advice from a doctor. So it is extremely important to have a Google presence of your organization and about your molecule and about the drug which you want to get prescribed. Coming back to the seventh finding, which is again very interesting, and I think most of us in the pharmaceutical industry would be having some hang of it. So we asked this question that how much of time you are willing to give to pharma and at what frequency, and what is your content, what is that you expect from them. And we asked the same question to pharmaceutical sales professional and pharmaceutical marketeers. And you know what came very interesting was that there was a disconnect between industry and doctors community. Most of the doctors wanted to meet pharma once a month, and most of the pharma professional wanted to meet doctors once a week, especially the big ones. So they want to meet once a month. We want to meet once a week. There is a disconnect. That means whatever communication piece we have planned, that is not getting converted in totality. And the time duration is 2 to 5 minutes for doctors, and we want to take more than 5 minutes. So again, there is a disconnect. And I already told in the beginning that they wanted science-based information from an unbiased portal. Whereas we think that the knowledge is my job. Maybe 10 to 15 years before, this could have been my job. Is it still the same? So when a specific question was asked, what is that they expect from pharma? They said, commercial information, which means where is the drug most easily available? Who is the right person? What other service the patient will get? Is there any other value added offering which is there along with this molecule for your company? So beyond pill services is something which came across as a very, very strong requirement in terms of content. What diet and nutrition? We think that this is my job to talk about diet and nutrition, but that came across as not a very specific need, because the diet and nutrition related to therapy probably is already there in Google. So those information which is not there on Google was something which was the gap the doctors community wanted a pharmaceutical industry to fulfill. So is the pharmaceutical industry relevant? They're relevant. But is there a need to change? Is there a need to adapt in terms of our frequency, in terms of our visits, in terms of our content? Probably yes. And I'm sure all of us are taking cognizance of this understanding and trying to make those amends in our value offering. Point number 8. Doctors still prefer, the topic is what not to do or what to continue. You'd be surprised to know that from a pharmaceutical industry, we talk about social media, digital media, social media marketing, creating a digital footprint. But there was something which we were constantly doing, and they were, if we wanted to reach out to a doctor before WhatsApp, we used to SMS. And now after WhatsApp, we, small content, we still WhatsApp to them. And if it is something which required deep thinking, deep learning, we used to email it to them. When the same question was asked, what is that which they still prefer? Almost 90% of them said, from pharmaceutical industry, the most preferred media of communication digitally is WhatsApp, SMS, and email. And many of us have stopped making content which is relevant to WhatsApp, SMS, and email because it is not cool. Who does email marketing? It's not cool. I used to do it 15 years before. But this is something which we really need to continue and expand because this is still the most preferred media. Friends, let's not forget that from a PC, we moved to laptop. Today, the viewership time of a mobile is much, much higher than a laptop or an iPad. So, what is there in your hand is something which gets used more. So, it is recommended to use content which is mobile friendly, which is reaching out to them much easier. Something even more interesting was there. It was in terms of timing, especially during pandemic time. We as marketeers created content and we pushed it to our team, or the sales professional also gathered something. And every morning we were pushing those communication to the doctors. So a similar question was asked. How do you view an early morning communication or an evening communication? It says, anything which disturbs me while seeing a patient, anything which disturbs me when I'm in an anxious mode, creates a negative impression, and probably that brand doesn't get written. This guy is too pushy. This guy is too loud. The point which I wanted to communicate is, please think through whether early morning communication is better or an evening post-OPD communication is over. You will understand the answer. So what is important is create something which is subtle, create something which gets liked, create something which creates a lot of positive emotions. Push it at the time when he is receptive, he's in a mood to listen. We need to think through how do we respond to a sales pitch in our own life when we are busy. So even digitalization has got a timing, and that is something which we need to understand. How much of time a doctor or a pharmaceutical professional is present? It was surprising that majority of us who were there in head office, we were there for a longer period of time, almost more than an hour. My gut feeling says that it is even more. Even those of us who are there in sales job, while waiting outside a doctor's clinic, we spend a lot of time on these platforms. So majority of the pharma professionals were more than an hour. And majority of doctors community was in patches of 3 for 15 minutes. I'm talking about busy doctors, those who give us business. So in patches with a multiple of 15 to 30 minutes duration. So please understand that they are present in the digital space less than us, one. And that also they need it for socialization and networking. And then there is a time for digital communication. So how much to create? How long to create? And at what frequency to create? A lot depends on a very customized offering. Looking into the digital behavior not an umbrella offering. So to understand the digital behavior of a doctor personalized to that level is extremely important and critical. Coming to the last portions of few of my findings, these are, please remember, these are snippets only. Social media uses varies at doctors levels and at pharma level. And I would club it with the second one, sorry, this one and the second, last one, type of social media together. I think the most common one which is used by all the community very widely still is Facebook. More than 70% presence of doctors community, more than 90% presence of pharma marketeers, more than 85% presence of pharma sales professionals. So there is an infrastructure which is already there on Facebook. And those of us who are digital marketeer or have some understanding of digital marketing find it uncool to be on the Facebook now. There's also rumors which is revolving, and there is also a talk which is like, oh, who uses Facebook these days? These are for uncool professionals. And we better be on the Instagram. So users by surgeons, those who like videos, those who like to see some demonstrative actions, were the one who were more appreciative about Instagram. YouTube was largely visited by pharma marketing professionals and less by pharma sales professionals. The Twitter was used by super specialist community more, and LinkedIn was used more by pharma professionals than doctors. So if I can summarize, Facebook was very common. LinkedIn was for professionals and those who wanted to do B2B marketing. Instagram was for more demonstrative behaviors, and YouTube was used more by pharma marketing professionals. This is something very interesting. A question was asked to leaders: how much is their specific digital budget? What is digital budget? We have a budget and we allocate. So it is very interesting that almost everybody is talking about, digitalization, and there is no specific allocation. And those companies, those organizations which had their own allocation, they were in the range of 10% of their total promo budget. That means there is an intent, we are talking about it, but we are not making specific allocations. So there's a learning in this finding that if you want to advance in that particular segment, there has to be an allocation, there has to be a mindset, there has to be a leadership, push to these things. Only then things will progress. So these were my research findings, and I think based on these research findings, a couple of things comes across as conclusions. And over a period of 10-15 minutes, I'll try to conclude what I just mentioned before we start for a Q&A. So are we relevant? Are pharma marketing and sales professionals relevant? We are strongly relevant because still there is a need for relationship. Still there is a human connect. Still people want to meet, greet, hug, shake hand. But is this something which can continue if it continues like this? Probably no. And we really need to have that mindset change that probably what continued and what would continue even if there is no third wave or even if the world comes out of pandemic. My friend, world has already seen the impact of IT-enabled communication. Patients have already seen the impact of IT-enabled communication. And so have doctors, so have distributors, so have stockists. All of us need to embrace it, adapt it, and make it an integral part of our process and value system. A baby wearing a long overhaul coat. Can a digital strategy be uniform? We remember we used to make visual aids. This visual aid is for gastro. This visual aid is for physicians. This communication is for cardiologists. Can we continue like this? Probably we can't. There has to be a customized behavior even among cardiologists, even among oncologists. Oncologists who like physical make and feel. Oncologists who are comfortable digitally. Oncologist who wishes to see it in the morning. Cardiologist who wishes to see it in the evening. Cardiologist who would prefer a webinar over a physical visit. Cardiologist who would like to see up the molecule information in up to date. So there is going to be a lot of detailed matrix to understand physical and digital behavior of customers. And somewhere down the line, those pitching based on Google intelligence or artificial intelligence is going to customize those things. And you would be seeing those customization even in our own digital, fidgeting that we do. You like a shoe? You have not bought a shoe? After 15 days, you will get a reminder from Amazon. So somewhere down the line, the industry also need to adapt the digital behavior of doctors' community and customize its strategy. I think this is about Pharma Marketing 1.0 and Pharma Marketing 2.0. I'll focus on 2.0 for paucity of time. I think somewhere down the line, I mentioned that it is customer who will be the king. No more it is about science and only science. We probably need to go beyond the pill. It would not just be doctors. It would be doctors, patients, healthcare professionals, nurses. And it is not just to know digitalization. Digitalization would become a part of our life. So it is extremely important to understand it completely in totality. But in digital marketing, there are two words. One is digital and second is marketing. I think currently what is talked more is digital. And somewhere down the line, we are not giving stress to marketing. If the content is good, if the marketing is good, it gets picked up. Only if the communication is bad, it will take its own sweet time to reach. I'll give you some examples. How many times we have seen St. Stephen's College advertising or Lady Shri Ram College advertising, or we seeing an ad of an IAS post or the best school in your city. If the content is good, things reaches. So I would still say that it is extremely important to have a great content. If the content is good, it becomes easy for marketeers to advertise. But even then, having a very strong marketing strategy is crucial and important. Digitalization is one realm of marketing. And all of us as marketeer, all of us as sales professional really need to understand that if the content is good, if the marketing strategy is good, digitalization is one way to reach out to a customer. There are a couple of things which has become sine qua non, without which we cannot survive. So I've broken this slide into start, stop, and continue. I think I already discussed that. Still, the doctors community want simple, quick message. Sir, this time is the webinar, this time is the meeting. Shall we do this? Routine, impulsive reactions, mobile marketing. Deep thinking, something which requires concept creations, emails. Post it, let him read at the time when he prefers. I think what probably we really need to reflect on is, should we need to do vigorous brain reminder? Too much of physical inputs, bomb it. Constantly talking only about products. Is this something which we really need to do that aggressively? Is this something which is creating a positive impression about the brand? Or this is leading to too much of push? There are quite a lot of other things which is coming across as important. I told you that if you're not on Google, there's a chance that first impressions will not get created. So search engine optimization, if you're a marketing, you need to understand. Artificial intelligence, what is the digital behavior? Machine learning, how do I understand that digital behavior and convert it into algorithms, business buckets, social media marketing? They're simple things, very, very simple things. Your doctor has made a post and you have only liked it. And there is another gentleman who has responded by writing it. The chance is that the guy who writes it is going to get appreciated more. Technology-enabled collaboration. The doctor wants to do a meeting. I call up my head office, or I just wait outside his clinic, open my laptop, create that Zoom link, and it's sorted. The days of phone a friend will be numbered. How technically enabled we are ourselves are something which is going to embrace us for a better career management. We have talked quite a lot about it. I will try to give you a model post this slide. There would be some set which will continue with physical. There would be some set which would continue to prefer the digital interaction. So there would be quite a lot of set which will be a hybrid, which the world is calling physical. So it's a mix of physical and digital communication behavior. But can I break it down into small things? For example, there's something called my headquarter, my area, and I continue to do digital and physical. But there are a lot of other things. For resource reasons, somebody is not able to reach out to a particular place. There would be increasing number of guys who would say no to pharma. Their needs are not there, they don't want to. And that there's a likelihood that that number is still open to digital interaction. Do I need to create a manpower, or do I need to create a virtual artificial intelligence backed up by center of excellence, which provides data analytics, monitoring, which does the content and which reaches out to a virtual medical rep is something could be the call in future. Another thing is that all of us during our management time or in some training has read about AIDA model, AIDA, attention, interest, desire, and action. what is this IDA digitally? Is this something which is relevant in digital space? When we were doing this work, we realized, and when you spoke to patients, caregiver, they said, there are a lot of Google they do even when they perceive that there could be something wrong. They just want to be aware. They want to be healthy. They want to be in a space where they do not have to undergo the same thing which their father went or mom went. So there is a lot of work which a patient or a healthy volunteer or healthy person is having. So the Google space is being used for a lot of holistic work, a lot of prevention work, a lot of just work for being healthy. And you would see that there is a lot of digital companies which is coming into this particular space. Running apps, diet and nutrition app, health app, sleep app. You know, if you have some bad habits cessation apps. You know, you have Healthify.me, you have Strava, you have Raniac. Same is the situation for a pharmaceutical company. Majority of the pharmaceutical company are present when there's a need for a drug. That means in the stage of desire and action. That means you had this disease, now you need to take my medicine. But those of us who understand digital space, if you want to create an impression, if you want to leave a mark, if you want to be recognized as a serious company, if you want to recognize as a serious marketeer, it makes a lot of sense to be in the space of prevention. Talk about how not to have cancer. Talk about how to be healthy. Talk about how to prevent diabetes. So those organizations which have spent their effort, energy into using the services of doctors to prevent a disease, to create attention about that particular therapy or that particular body, or are the one who gets more conversion. It's very simple human psychology. You trust somebody when they were your friend, when there was no need to be a friend. It is a similar psychology even in the digital space. When somebody is pitching you for their product, when you already need them, no trust is built. When somebody is giving you information or awareness about healing, prevention, when you don't need it, when you're healthy, the trust gets created, organization image gets created. So it is said that you should spend a lot of your effort, energy in attention, interest generation, in preventing a disease. Automatically your molecule or your brand gets written. You see the organization, almost every organization is putting their proper resource. So it is necessary to have a digital mindset. For those of us who are in a leadership position, it is important to digitally drive and create that infrastructure and environment. And for us who are in operationals, it is important to accept that this is there, this is likely to continue. Probably for the organization, I think it is important to continue the relationship marketing, team building, soft skills. I already mentioned about one size fits all. Take a chocolate box, give it to 500 doctors. Probably will not work. What probably will work in future is Which chocolate? Chocolate with nuts, chocolate with caramel, chocolate with vanilla flavor, chocolate at what occasion? Chocolate during Diwali or chocolate during New Year or Easter? So probably a customized strategy, absolutely adaptable to that person as a human life is going to work. Probably center of excellence, personalized, phygital and specific budget allocation is what is expected from organizations and leaders. So if I can just summarize for paucity of time before the Q&A, there are 4 areas, and this is my last slide, where things are going to be there. One, we need to adapt the technology, and probably we not become an expert at it. We need to understand what technology we needed and probably approach the various learned guys or experts in that particular domain. Human beings are still alive. Relationships still will continue. Relationships still will be useful. There is absolutely no technology can replace trust, emotions, feelings, happiness, positive environment. But when we adapt technology, it will always give us a summative effect. We think about something and we do not invest, things would not happen. And there would be various different kind of healthcare models which will be there, and we probably need to understand this. Things are likely to move only from therapy areas to specific areas. With this, I would close and I would thank the organizers, Dr. Swati, Dr. Satish, for giving me this opportunity, and I'll be very happy to take up questions. Thank you for your time. I'll go and stop my screen sharing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manoj, for taking us through this concept, which is building up very nicely in pharmaceutical industry, the digital concept. You backed it with the research that you carried, and it really gives us all, a warm feeling that things are going to be digital plus physical, because while there was Corona, many of the professionals and companies were thinking, still Corona is there, but at that time when there was no physical meetings and all, they were literally very fearful and thinking everything would be going digital. And now it is coming out as a phygital, which you very rightly pointed out. Dear participants, thank you for being there with us for the whole talk by Dr. Manoj. And now we will be taking up the question and answers. We have received a lot of them. So I'll take one by one. For the benefit of the presentation, Dr. Manoj, we actually kept the chat private so that it doesn't disturb the flow. And now the chat is could be visible to all. Let me start with the first question, which was asked by Mr. Satyam Jha. He is asking, for the major brands which are widely available, telemedicine is ideally going to benefit. However, how can smaller or newer brands adapt to this challenge?
Okay, so I think the question is, you have one therapy area and you have a couple of leading brands and they are widely popular, and they are the one who would get appreciated and recognized, and they would gain more market share. But I am a small brand manager, or I have just launched my brand, and how do I make my presence? I think many a times what you are saying is true. So you need to be very, very, that is a time when your market research will work handy, that which is one specific market I really need to prioritize. Do they have a very strong presence across country? And when you do that market research, you would find that there is a lot of demarcation in tier 2, tier 3 interiors town. There's a lot of demarcation or deficits which is there across therapy area uses. So you need to pick up your spots where you have a low-hanging fruit. And when you penetrate this, and you need not have a national level strategy, you probably could be a very simple area specific strategy to begin with and expand your forte. So that's how I would have done if I was a brand manager. I hope I have answered you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Manoj. Next question was asked by Mr. Nitin Kumar Gautam. He said, patent infringement are common nowadays. Okay, it is very recent news about this thing came up. How do you feel that it will prevent the new molecules to be launched in a much needed population of our country?
Okay. So probably this is not a digital question, but I'll try answering this slightly bit in a brief. I think there's a place for research and innovation, and that must be respected. Had it not been those research and innovation, many of us probably would not have been alive. If there was no research which was done on remdesivir or tocilizumab or favipiravir, probably we would have many of the ICU patients during COVID time would have been dead. But yes, very recently you would see that even these organizations are also reaching out to Indian organization, because Indian organization have got a key strength in upscaling and reaching out and coming up with a very turnaround time. So you see that synergy which is happening between innovation and great insights which these Indian organization is also developing. But there is a lot of role for these innovations to happen. Once that is respected, once that period is over, probably it is for wider reach and penetration. I hope I have answered you.
Yeah, thank you. Next question from Mr. Vikas Patnaik from Intas. The pandemic has greatly increased the potential of telemedicine by many folds. The use of telemedicine has been all-time high during the pandemic, and several research studies by the consulting giants revealed that the patients prefer meeting a doctor in person over a digital interaction, as the presence and touch would make them feel examined and treated. Now that the pandemic is turning to an endemic, can we expect patients going back to their earlier preference, eventually leading to decrease in the usage of telemedicine compared to current all-time high?
Okay, interesting question from a fellow colleague. My purview is that it really takes something very big normally in our life to change a behavior, and we have seen this during pandemic that telemedicine was widely acceptable. Just to give you an insight about what happened in wave 1 and wave 2. Wave 1, all of us were confused. The doctors community also had a lot of questions. And anybody, at least in the first 2 or 3 weeks, having COVID, irrespective of symptoms, symptomatic, asymptomatic, were admitted. In wave 2, you found 65 to 70% of the people taking treatment at home with the help of telemedicine. Now, please don't forget, it is these set of people who have understood the importance of telemedicine. If they could defeat COVID, life-threatening situation, and understand it well, now they understand that what is a medical cost and what is a fringe cost. If I need a proper diagnosis, I probably would still prefer a first-time physical visit. But if the diagnosis is done and I need to be on a routine therapy, I probably may not visit the doctor's community and still continue the benefit and the convenience of my home in the second visit till the 6th visit. And I still would go back to my doctors after six months or 7 months. So anything which requires active intervention, active examination, diagnosis, and initiation of a treatment probably would be physical visit. And anything which requires continuation, sustenance, minor dose adjustments probably would move into telemedicine. Please remember, India is a vast country, and the total number of doctors, community doctors to patient ratio is extremely wider. Even for us, having these telemedicine will be helpful. Plus, the cost of traveling to another city, staying there in a lodges, inconvenience, no emotional support, no food. These are a lot of things which will come and get converted into a medicine cost. Patients from dropping on the 5th dose probably would continue the dose. I hope this was a wider answer, but it will give you a perspective.
Yes, Dr. Manoj, very rightly said. Just even if you imagine in the yourself in the shoes of a patient, and you think the cost involved in visiting a patient a doctor who is not in your state, you will go for teleconsultation first. So I personally believe we have seen the data also supplementing this, that telemedicine is going to increase rather than anywhere it is settling at an all-time high. But yeah, these are all views. Let us see what happens in future. The next question is from Mr. Vivek Mishra. Very well explained by Dr. Manoj about the benefit of digitalization at the super specialist doctors level. I feel same is true not only for entire super specialty segment, but also GPs and other medical fraternity too as well. Isn't it? Moreover, I feel I have become more productive after COVID era, as somehow we could understand the benefit of digital platforms. And may I request, sir, to please throw some light on it?
Okay. It's very interesting that even while you do research, you look into applicability of the same research into a wider segment, wider gamut. And those of us who are researchers, we understand that you can't get data points very when your sample size is very broad. So obvious it is that you'll have to choose something which is specific. So in research work, you say you don't do research work of the entire pen. Probably you do research work only about the nib of the pen, because that is something which will be in a position to get you some insights. And that's what I did. But whether this has got applicability of a wider audience. So what I had done was I had vetted the concepts to a wider audience, may not be in the same sample proportion. And I found that the applicability of the same was there. And you do this with various levels of testing. I mean, there are a lot of SPSS tools which is there. So you look into a specific area, you do it with 2,000 plus doctors, but you try reaching out to general practitioners and physicians, and almost the same behavior was echoed. So this is applicable to a wider audience. I hope I've answered you, Vivek.
Right. Dr. Manoj, there are 3 questions which are interlinked, so I will ask them. It is all about social media used by doctors spending enough time to go through information and all. So one, Mr. Ronak Maheshwari has asked, as many of the pharma companies are sending their product details and many more information through social media, but does doctor spend enough time to go through the information? The second related question is, even if the content is good, but customer is unaware of the stuff, does it help? And the third is, what would be the social media platforms that super specialist doctors be interested in? All connected to doctors and super specialty, their time on social media.
Okay. So I think this is going to be a common perennial marketeer problem, that you feel that your product is just wonderful and your content is just amazing, and the doctors community needs to know, and you try doing everything possible to reach out that communication through some means. Maybe the method to reach is not happening. Many of us as marketeer are too blank or too placid in our communication, and we feel that the messaging is not happening. But we hardly spend time in building a trust. Whom do we listen to in real life as well? We listen to people whom we trust. We listen to people whom we feel is worth it. We listen to people who feel can provide us those value additions. So those of us as marketeers, we are not able to get our communication inside a doctor's mind. He's not able to give us space. We really need to reflect. Is it about the communication which I've created? Or it is much more deeper? Maybe he doesn't value that organization. Maybe he doesn't value that communication. Maybe he doesn't value the authenticity. And the same applies in our own life. Do we pick up every sales call? We do not. Do we talk to people who are worth it? We do. So a lot of time needs to be spent on creating that equity, which will enable our sales and marketing professionals to be heard. And that's my submission.
Sure. And Dr. Manoj, if we asked about these messages going to doctors and being very uniform across, does segmentation play a part here? Segmenting,
yeah. So I did touch upon it that if I have a couple of friends altogether into a different domain, and when they it was a hospitality industry, and I asked my friend, have you done my segmentation? And it's a personal example I'm sharing. Said I was shocked and surprised that even in hospitality industry, place where you go for your corporate meetings, they have done those segmentations. For example, in my case, this is fast check-in, fast checkout, clean room, no nonsense, Wi-Fi connectivity. He will enter into meeting fast. He will leave the hotel fast. These are his normal requirements. No use of swimming pool, no use. Maybe he will go to a gym, and that's it. And I was very surprised that how well they have detailed those things. Same is the case for every customer. When we do a profiling, our digital adaptation or our communication is going to be very, very different. We spend a lot of time on only talking about the content of our product. The messaging of the same content, even digitally, can be very, very different to 4 set of doctors who have got 4 different behaviors. Probably for paucity of time, I would not be in a position to do it in one session, but those 4 communications would be very different. And yes, the first thing we did, I remember you were the one who hosted Dr. Kotler, and he did talk about segmentation, targeting, positioning, customization, and how a specific messaging will be in a position to touch the nerve and the chord of people.
Rightly said, Dr. Manoj. And thank you, Vijendran sir, for being there with us today.
Hello, sir.
We welcome you. Please, few insights from you also, Vijendran sir, would help here. Satish, can we unmute? Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Very great session, Manoj. Like a student for the last 2 hours, I've been listening, and quite an exciting understanding, and some very important points which we have to bring to the fore, which Manoj also is aware that we tend to practice, is this context of segmentation, which Swati just asked as a question right now, is not in the context of a traditional business marketing exercise. This comes through because you're now playing in a digital media, and the only space that you're getting to isolate a customer from each other is the context of the message. And therefore, the traditional segmentation rules by geography, by designation, likes and dislikes are all thrown out of the window. Now, what's going to play very critically is what is that message that you're going to give to the customer, and how relevant and how specific those messages are going to be is what is going to be addressed. And I think, Manoj, thank you very much for addressing some of the critical areas very well, especially all those 8-10 points learning out of your research have been very enlightening. And these are some of the thoughts. Otherwise, I don't want to steal the thunder away. Let Manoj continue to talk, because he's giving the context of what he has gone through from a research perspective, and let's learn from that. Thank you, Swati.
Thank you, Vijayendran sir, for throwing
Thank you,
some
sir.
more light. And we really feel happy that you joined today. Thank you so much, sir. Please be there, sir. Well, the team from DocPlexes also seems to be here, Dr. Manoj, and I see a lot of questions from them. So let me ask one. Mr. Vikas Patnaik is asking, sir, what according to you is the role of doctor-specific social media platforms like DocPlexes, Plexes MD, and marketing of pharma products through those mediums?
Sure, DocPlex, thank you for your question, and other platforms. I think anything which is neutral and perceived neutrally are those eight space which has got a lot of place for marketing opportunity, and I see it with all seriousness. So I'm not going into any specific media. All I'm trying to say is anything which has got a lot of credibility, is unbiased, is something which is taken to provide a lot of value addition. And any information piece or communication piece which is coming through that source is going to get appreciated. Point is unbiased, useful, provides value addition, and perceived that way. Rule number one, it is important that it is that. And rule number two, it is important that it is perceived that way by the customers. So, let's say in the field of hematology, anything coming from blood will get appreciated. Anything coming from Journal of Clinical Oncology will get appreciated. So in current situation, especially in the digital space, all of us are trying to make an attempt to create that credibility and infrastructure. And once we are able to reach that stage where things comes from a lot of credibility, there is a lot of scope and use for digital marketing in that space. I hope DocPlex team, I have been able to answer you.
Right, Dr. Manoj, and another question from Abhishek from the same team. Generally in digital scenario, ROI on digital activities can be measured only via e-commerce styles where actual purchase happens and money spent versus money earned. So this is the way ROI has been there. The question is, in content style digital formats, how to convince pharma companies about ROI measurements, as you would never know who read versus who prescribed? That is a question coming from a platform.
Okay, very interesting question. I think I did touch about it in my IDA model, which I tried, we talked about desire and action and conversion into real business. And I think slowly and gradually, pharmaceutical industry is also trying to understand that how important it is to talk about awareness, how important it is to talk about value creation, how to be healthy, more towards AI model. So one, the trend is changing. People are understanding that it is not always about conversion. Even the equity creation has got a value, but like anything which was new, one have to have a lot of patience, and probably these patients will enable you to convince pharma professionals to say that equity creation is an equally important exercise, and eventually it leads into bigger market creations and conversions. I hope I have been able to answer you. So stay put.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj. There are a lot of questions. I think we will be running out of time, but I'll try to be on a quick question answer format. One question is, Dr. Manoj, compliments for your talk. What is the future of medical representatives and pharmaceutical organizations? Whether a number of medical representatives are going to reduce or grow, your viewpoint?
So answering it very simply is, can you replace human beings? If human beings can be replaced, there would be a place for medical representative. All of us start our medical rep. I still feel I'm a medical rep. So will there be a continuity of medical representative as profession? Answer to that was said by doctors in my research, that they do find them useful. Will they like to continue meeting them? Of course, they would like to continue meeting them. So human beings and that bonding would continue. But yes, their expectations are changing. That means we will have to adapt our skills with the changing time. That means we will have to have things which they want to know. As I very subtly said, that they are interested in knowing commercial informations more than just science. They are interested in knowing things which is a value offering to their patients. They are interested in having a good mix of digital and physical. So this would continue, but probably we need to upgrade and adapt our skill sets, is my summation to you.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj. The next question, do you think role of pharma as medical education provider or CME will vanish? As you said, doctors have their own unbiased resources for knowledge upgradation.
Yes. Will it vanish? I have my doubts. Will it reduce? Maybe. Do we need to get into a different kind of a marketing strategy in future? Probably yes. Like Docplexes and others were trying to tell us that how important it is to have an unbiased portal. Probably people will be less interested in only listening from one or two specific pharmaceutical company unless they are innovator in their own space. But will they be interested in listening into complete therapy management? Probably that could be one area where things could be useful. So I think this is a time when all of us really need to reflect that what is that which is relevant for our customer, for our doctors community, or for our healthcare professionals. But what would also change is the need for webinar education is there for our doctors, but we have hardly realized that the same need is also for that lady nursing staff who is giving infusion, that pharmacy staff who is right now doing integrated account management, which typical Indian pharmaceutical industry have not done so much. So probably role will shift apart from providing those value additions to doctors community, to doing integrated account management, where we are able to give a holistic value services to the entire ecosystem.
Right. The next question, great pointers, Dr. Manoj. By any chance, your research is available in public domain to read? I'm sure it would be highly insightful. What is your suggestion for a pharmaceutical company which is just considering digitalization? You're mute.
Yeah, so any research goes to UGC and 𝐃𝐚𝐭𝐸 and to the government. until otherwise you don't get your PhD. So that is that has gone, and I'm sure it will be available in public domain. But yes, I have published around 7-8 publications, and they are there in the public domain. So feel free to Google, and you would get those insights. I think he had a second point which is more relevant to him. The last part was what, Dr. Swati? What is?
Yeah. What is your suggestion for a pharmaceutical organization going into digitalization? Just now considering going.
Okay. So my first suggestion for anybody starting up is do not reinvent the wheel, and do not try to become an expert of everything, which you can't. If today I want to become an expert into Google Analytics or search engine optimization or creating a web page, it will take me few months to do that. But if I hire a right professional to do the same thing, it will be easy. So what is important is create those set of people in your organization or outside as an agency who provides you these services, and you need to pick and choose. But what is very important is do the why. Why am I doing it? What is the reason for me to do this? What do I need to do this? How do I need to do this? Once your why, how, what is much more clear internally, it will be much easier for you to think, do I need to hire a resource? Or do I need to go to an agency? Or do I need to have a short-term contract or a long-term contract with somebody who is there? So start slow, stay invested, take small incremental steps, and things will be easy for you.
Thank you, Doctor. This answer many would be looking at, because now it is the right time to go into digitalization. The next question I'll take up from LinkedIn. Mr. Abhishek, I agree, from Abbott. He has asked, what are your views about how a webinar should be organized in these times? What should be included for the value add?
Abhishek, answering your question, I personally feel that content is very important. So understanding what is the need is more important than what is your molecule. And if you understand, and most of the time, the pharmaceutical industry is so engrossed in only talking about their molecule or therapy that they really forget to understand. Maybe the doctor's need at this point of time is to provide diagnostics, to understand diagnostics, to understand those niche things which is being left behind. So understanding what is the real need in the whole gamut of patient disease management is more important. That where does your molecule fit in? I'm yet to find a doctor who do not understand what does a pharma want when he is interacting with me. I repeat, I'm yet to find a doctor who is so intelligent than us, who do not understand what does a pharma want when he's providing a value-added service. He knows it, that if this boy, like if Abhishek is doing this work for me on behalf of Abbott, what is Abhishek and Abbott's expectation? But then if I just push what is my content, probably those value additions are not very good.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj, and hoping the question was answered. Mr. Abhishek, thank you for asking. There are many questions, Dr. Manoj, and I would club them to a single theme. The single theme is, there are many doctors who are still not very receptive about digital interactions. They do not want WhatsApp messages. They do not want mailers. They are not even looking at their mobiles. So how to motivate such doctors towards using digital, especially with GPs and CPs? He is unaware, he is less technical. What should be done?
If they don't want, don't give. It is as simple as that. Do what they want. But I'm yet to find a person. Just to give you insight, 2020, the total use was close to 75 crores CR. And by 2025, India itself will have close to 100 crore of friendly, those web-enabled mobiles. So that means this number is rising. These days, even the lowest of the pyramids are using, those mobiles. So start subtly. Don't be very, very pushy. Those who don't want to change at all, no way we should try to change their behavior. But I'll be surprised if that number is extremely high. People are talking about digital de-addiction today a lot. There is a new fad that how long you can continue without touching your mobile, and if that goes beyond 2 hours, you are a winner. So these are the new games which is happening. So don't change subtly, and this number will reduce and the new adaptation will increase.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Manoj. I'll take your permission first to continue with the questions. Thank you so much. Let me read out a comment from Mr. Raman Kepar. He's saying we cannot ignore building a digital capabilities of medical representatives as they play a crucial role. We need to leverage their relations with doctors to build trust with doctors. They should be a part of the whole journey. Thank you, Mr. Raman, for your comment. Next question, Dr. Manoj, from Mayank Sharma. Sir, do you think now the concept of pharmaceutical market is changing from product marketing to service marketing? If yes, then how a company and the management should align themselves pertaining to their internal customers? I repeat, internal customers, to get the better output at marketplace.
Okay, Mayank always asks a very tough question. I guess he's from Intas, right? He's based out of really very intelligent guy. Okay, so Mayank, answering your question, eventually it is the product which a doctor is going to use if you are selling a product. But yes, you need to have that service orientation to create those concepts of going beyond the pill service. Many a times what happens is we tend to focus on this is the product and this is what you should write. But if there is a lot of value addition on how to infuse the product, what kind of precondition is required, at what level the infusion needs to be monitored, what could be the safety profile, how do you balance, how do you provide a balanced approach to the patient, what kind of things you must be aware of. These are some of the value additions, or these are those connecting the dots which is still required when you're giving those value offerings. I think services which you mentioned should move around the therapy area that you are that you're exposed to, and try covering those domains where a doctor is being a part of it. Many a times it is those nurses, it is that pharmacist where you have provided those value offerings become an indirect ambassador of what you intended to do during those 5 minutes, because they are going to be there with your prescriber for a longer period of time. So what kind of beyond the pill services that you give is something which is going to get appreciated. And they are, don't forget, they are your tangible people. They are your extended marketeers who are going to be with their prescriber. So connect the dots, give those value offerings which you feel is missing in around that therapy area, and do a complete integrated account management.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj, for answering the question. I hope it is clear. Then the next question is from Mr. Mohit Kasera. So everyone talked about what is going to change in the future. Can you please explain us what is not going to change and what we can do to improve those things?
So I did touch that, Mohit. Mohit is from Goa Institute of Management, and I know him well, a very intelligent boy. So, Mohit, answering your question, I did mention that email marketing is going to continue, mobile marketing is going to continue, relationship is going to continue, expectations of our customers is going to continue. So, there are a lot of things which I did mention. Those two slides. This is something which we need to stop. This is something which we need to continue, and this is something which we need to start. So please have a look into those two slides. I think these are something in terms of decision making. I said you need to have a proper budget allocation, but I also did mention that there needs to be a lot of investment on relationship building, trust building, corporate image creation. That is something which we need to continue.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj. And in case anyone wants to go through the whole recording of the session, it will be available at LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook channels of Pharma State Academy. You can go and revise the concepts there. The next question, Dr. Manoj, has been asked by Mr. Ganesh. So what is your opinion on virtual MR? Which things to be considered if any organization is planning virtual interaction for marketing?
So I did tell you that where do you see a role of virtual MR? Virtual MR is a kind of a digital enabled center of excellence which beams some set of pre-decided information or communication or content or engagement to people who are averse to a live physical meeting, day-to-day meeting. Now, this is already happening with us directly or indirectly. Now, there are a couple of places where it is a possibility. For example, it's a remote place, but he's something which is providing value addition in the segments where you are present. Resource-wise, it is not possible for you to connect. The third area is, somebody who is averse, who doesn't want to do it. No way you can do it. So the category is very clear. Either resource challenge or a personal non-interest to meet pharma are the segment which probably would be a virtual targeted customer. Obvious it is that you would reach out content at a frequency which is acceptable to him. Otherwise, it will become toxic for him. So many a times, there are various interactive portals where you really engage with a customer and ask for information that, are you interested in receiving these information? And he clicks. And many times you go one step further and you ask, are you interested at what frequency? And sometimes he would, mention his digital behavior. Once you understand this, customizing the content, these days things are so advanced that you would understand that which is the portion he clicked, which is the portion which web page he was there for how long, where he sought an action, how that action got converted into a prescription. So by using Google Analytics, you could also be in a position to understand his complete digital behavior, and you can customize it. If you are doing shopping on Amazon, if you're doing shopping on or if you're using any of the web page aggregator services, you will understand what I'm referring to. I hope I've answered you.
Right. And another very interesting question is there from Mr. Prashant Sahu. Will there be pharma companies clubbing in future to manage best ROI from same executive?
Whether you like it or not, at some stage things are already happening. I'll give you some examples. Let's say, you have a particular institute or you have a particular account, and this account has got certain needs. So that need could be a need for, let's say, a diagnostic tool, the need for a surgical equipment, the need for few medicine, the need for some uniform, the need for infrastructure. So there are set of health related need. And this professional or this group of professionals are comfortable with few set of people because of relationship, because of trust factor. So don't be surprised if subsequently it is these set of people who have excellent relationship with this hospital or doctors who would be hired for their services in future for those specific things. I see no conflict of interest. Why four healthcare service provider cannot hire the service of one individual? I'll give you an example. Uh, let's say you have a hospital, say X hospital, and that X hospital has got 10 doctors and 12 nursing staff and 3 pharmacists and an infrastructure, and they have got these products they need. Currently, it is being visited by close to 300 sales and marketing professionals from 300 different companies. But there, you have a set of front line, second line, third line, fourth line. But these set of 10 people are comfortable with, around 30 guys. And the industry clubs it together and says, okay, fine. This gentleman will lobby for diagnostics, surgical, and 2 medicine, which is non-conflicting. Eventually, it is about communication. Eventually, it is about marketing. Eventually, it is about collaboration. For high-end segment, I'm not about healthcare industry. I'm talking about, real estate. I'm talking about, altogether different industry, IT-enabled corporations. Those lobbying or one service being provided by 5-6 services being provided by one is already happening. So you never know where will be the future. What is important and pertinent is wherever you are, it is important to build that relationship that you are counted.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Manoj.
Swati,
I'll take one. Yeah, yes,
Dr.
Satish.
Swati, I will say that there are at least 30 questions more. So may I request that if we open the session for discussion with sir, if someone wants to ask question, and since the attention span is also not so long, we are almost about to cross 2 hours in few minutes. So we can have a different session if sir permits. And in that session, we can have a recap of the same presentation in 10 or 15 minutes and rest discussions only. So if that sort of format in future we can arrange, so participants will really get benefited out of it. Because it's been like long, and I think attention span also matters, and it's been 2 hours. So if we open the discussion round 1-to-1, that will be better as per my suggestion, and we can have more sessions on this.
Dr. Manoj, we will need your permission also for this. Right? There are a lot of questions which are pending. I think this was one a session where a lot of queries have been there. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a working professional, so I would also need permission from my authorities for the second session. I'm open to this. If they are comfortable, we'll be in a position to arrange for another session.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Manoj. Satish, we can, but let us continue for 10 minutes more through one-to-one interaction only, and post that we will close. One update from my side, I'm really sorry. Mr. Vikas was not from Doc Plexus. Thank you, Mr. Saurav Drolia from Doc Plexus for clarifying. Let us open the session for one-to-one.
Yes, so the session is open. You can unmute yourself, tell your name. There's no need to tell your company name because sometimes questions are something very tricky. So just tell your name and ask the question. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, am I audible? So my question is that for brands which are premium category brands, which are high value, how can we emerge as a thought leader and increase the number of prescriptions in a country like ours when we have people looking out for a value brand, something of a lesser value product? So, how can premium brands work towards that, especially using the digital and the physical connect? Because there are very small pockets where the premium brands can work like magic, but all over country, if we have to increase the reach of premium brands and consumption, how can we? Thank you.
Okay, so I think I did mention that fundamental of marketing is still same. It has not changed. That means typically getting into STP, typically getting into what will work where, who has how much of potential. So I'm sure you would do those basic insights generation for your brand or for your segment very, very clearly. Only thing which would change is how to expect, from whom to expect. Once you have this up and ready, you would decide your own, brand vision, that what is that which is expected from country like India. And then when I'm sure you would get into your own tactical, key action steps, action step 1, action step 2, action step 2. Probably digital could be, one of the area. You would also have to understand that in which stage of your, life cycle curve your product falls, which stage of your BCG metrics your product falls. I mean, whether there is an opportunity in that particular molecule, or whether there is potential in that particular molecule. And if there is a potential, whether there is a willingness, potential and propensity. So you would do those P2 matrix, and you would understand that whether there's a potential into your product, or whether there's a propensity and there is a willingness to pay. And if there's a willingness to pay, whether it is an out of pocket expense which you're comfortable, which the patients or doctors are comfortable, or is it something which should come under it, reimbursement category. So once you do those matrix analysis, once you understand which stage of your innovation curve you require, whether this requires a lot of concept creation, whether this requires a lot of need creation, is something which you really need to do. A portion of it only would be digitalization. I hope I have answered you.
Yes, thanks a lot.
Dr. Manoj, this is Saurabh. Hope I am audible. Right. So as we discussed that customers' expectations from the reps are also changing. Now, this question is from the perspective of L&D, learning and development, that as the marketeers are evolving and in order trying to excel in the digital initiative, how the L&D can contribute in this in terms of enabling the reps to embrace and engage the customers effectively. What would be your recommendations on that?
Okay, I think I did mention that L&D has got a very important role to play. But my first challenge anytime when whenever any new concept gets come in, especially for L&D team, that they start feeling that they need to be the expert. The moment this mindset would change, things would be easy. It is absolutely okay to accept that I cannot be a digital champion. This is not my core strength. I can be a champion on effective soft skills. But am I open to accept that I need to create that infrastructure or that ecosystem where the best of the guys would come and create that facilitation? If that is something which is there, a lot of things would start changing. Problem happens when I am not an expert and I try to start giving advice. So creating that infrastructure and ecosystem and hiring the best of the talent or taking the services of best of the talent is something which is which probably I feel is the beginning of L&D job. And over a period of time, you and your team really need to understand what is something which needs to be done internally and what is something which needs to be siphoned off externally, and become an amalgamation of both. I hope I have been able to answer you.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Quite useful. Thank you.
Sir, Minmay here. Sir, I need a suggestion from you. In the era of these digitalizations, normally we focus on those brands which is the high value, or the products or the brands who having the high signs. But for the brand metrics for our salespersons, how we can go for these brand metrics things in the era of digitalization, sir?
So, what to focus again is what what is something which is really needed. It is. So let me give you an example, since you are from oncology field. There could be a much wider thing which could be an effect. For example, let's say you have a radiation oncologist and whose interest is how do I prevent that side effect of which is caused due to radiation. For example, you have a patient who is having severe mucositis and is not able to eat anything. His whole body is charged for 5 to 6 days. Now, finding out that what is something which is of interest to him will help you to do the product positioning. A customer doesn't understand high value or low value. A customer only understand, or a doctor only understand what is needed for me and for my patient.
True, sir. Got it.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj.
Sorry. So, yeah, Dr. Swati.
Yeah, no issues, Dr. Manoj. I think there was some network error.
Is it better? Okay.
Yes.
So most of the time, things which sells the maximum or which is needed the maximum may have a very small margin for you. But if you continue to sell that and build your business around that, you will have more products which is written. I hope I have been able to answer you, Manoj.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Got it, sir. Got your points.
Sure.
Dr. Manoj, I think we shall be closing now. It's close to 1. First of all, thank you for taking us through the journey, patiently answering all the questions. And I hope all the participants also enjoyed interacting with Dr. Manoj. Really sorry if we cannot take a question this time. We will try to arrange another, provided we get the permission. So permission is very, very important in the digital era. That is what we have seen. That is what we shall do with doctors also. While we communicate, we shall be asking the permission first, right? And a very, very big thank you to Vijendran sir, who joined us, Vivek sir, Sunil Attawar sir, and Salil sir also, and all the dignitaries who joined us today to hear this talk. Dr. Manoj.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Dr. Manoj, you have been speaking a lot for the last 2 hours, but still I'll ask for the final closing comments from you.
Dr. Swati, can we have quiz winners also?
Oh, yes, Satish. Please let us see who won the quiz this time.
So we arranged a modern pharma marketing quiz. We had around 200 plus participants participating. We're showing the winners right now.
Congratulations, Arul Sood. Congratulations, Sushant. And congratulations, Vibod. You have been participating in our quizzes regularly, so thank you for that also. You will receive your winner's certificate.
Winner's certificate. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. you, Satish. Thank you so much. Congratulations to all the quiz winners. Dr. Manoj, before we close, please, a few words from your side.
First of all, it is an honor for me that so many of my seniors have been hearing. It is what you guys mentored me. I'm here because of them. So my big thank you. I also wanted to say that I have my first boss also hearing me today, Mr. Sandeep Verma. So Salil, Mr. Sandeep Verma, they were there in the beginning of our career. Vijendran sir, and so many, Vivek sir. Really, really grateful to you. I mean, it is those those external mentors who have made us whatever we are today. The final comment would be very simple. Know that this is inevitable. So embrace it, accept it, adapt it, acquire it. At the same time, also understand that you don't really need to change every possible thing. Say what is going to work in your area and then eventually move. There was a couple of revolution which was there: industrial, river valley civilization. Digital revolution is there. We need to embrace it and move it for our betterment.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manoj. This is inevitable and we are embracing it. Industry is going through it. Learning and development is going through it. So a lot of sessions you will see from our side also happening. Dear participants, just to continue what we do through CPHE, we are bringing in a series of sessions with the speakers of repute, and the topic would be innovation in pharma. So the first session is scheduled on 14th November with one of the most inspiring companies, MD, Mr. Milind Patel from Pharma would be speaking on innovation in pharma. And Dr. Manoj, you are also invited. Please join us with the team. And then we will carry on from there. Every month we are going to bring you a session on innovations in pharmaceutical industry. This is all from our side. Thank you all the participants for joining and listening to Dr. Manoj today. Your questions are most welcome. And as we discussed, we will try to bring along one more session with Dr. Manoj. That is all from our side. Have a wonderful Sunday ahead. Thank you, Dr. Manoj. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone, and really appreciate. And thank you, Dr. Swati, Dr. Satish, and the entire team. Really appreciate. Thank you. All of you have a great Sunday.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you, Dr. Manoj, and thank you to all the participants. We are ending the session now. You can click over in the chat box. We have sent the feedback link. This is really important. So please click over the link and just move out of the session and fill the feedback form. And we'll be ending the session now.
Sure.
Thank you.
So, thank you. Can I take your leave? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Manoj,
you,
for being there.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.